Hello, and welcome back, everyone. Very excited to be here for our weekly live interviews. And this week, so I'm Emma Howitt, Pure Abodes Property, and I love to take this opportunity very selfishly to speak to people that I really admire, who I think are making waves in the industry, and bring them on here, and I'm able to chat and find out as much as I can about what they're doing and how they're successful. So today I'm very excited to have Carey and Mike McEwen. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi Emma, all good, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Great to see you from Herefordshire. And I don't know about you, but it's pouring with rain. I really feel like I'm ready for my winter hat.
Yeah. Need a waterproof one.
I do, don't I?
Yeah, rain all over.
Yeah, exactly. So Mike and Carey, I'm really thrilled to have them on here today. So the reason I brought them on is they have launched a really exciting website called rentmyhouse.co.uk. And this was, and we'll talk through how they came to do that. But I really thought it was a great thing to share with everyone as who are in serviced accommodation and who do that. So guys, Mike and Carey, for anyone who perhaps doesn't know you or in kind of different networks, can you just give me a brief introduction to yourselves?
Yeah, okay. So we're a husband and wife team. We're based in Herefordshire and the surrounding counties. We've got a serviced accommodation business, as you said, rentmyhouse.co.uk. We've been going for about 7 years. We look after circa sort of 30 properties. There's a combination of sort of properties that we own, properties that we co-own, and obviously they're managed for clients as well. And our background is previously we were letting agents, weren't we?
Yes, for 8 years. Well, you 8 years, me since I left school.
Wow, that's amazing. And so obviously you've actually come from a property background. So like I didn't come to property till really late on. So obviously Carey, you started as a letting agent, is that right? Do you want to just give us a bit of background so we kind of hear how your journey kind of began?
Yes, yeah. So I left school and had the offer of an apprenticeship at one of the only letting agents in the city. So went there at the age of 16 and basically worked my way through the ranks through to lettings partner. Then when my boss wanted to retire, she gave us first refusal to buy the business. So Mike gave up his job in manufacturing and came on board. So we bought the business, ran it for 8 years, doubled the turnover and the portfolio, and sold it to Belvoir 10 years ago in 2014.
2014, yeah.
Amazing. And so was that, we always hear, don't we, that it's kind of like before property education and after property education, there's quite often a sort of a big gap. I know for me, I sort of grew up thinking that just property was for the rich and that I had no chance in getting into that. And then as soon as I kind of started jumping on, you know, I suppose most of us read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then we started buying books. And that kind of gave me that into understanding it. Did you have the same kind of thing? Did you sort of see yourself as the letting agent? That was kind of before you had some of the new strategies that you now do?
Yes, yeah. I mean, obviously, up until the point we sold the business, letting properties was all we really knew. Selling properties, there wasn't an estate agency arm to the business, so it was just literally letting. But I was quite fortunate, really, that the owner of the letting agency was quite a good role model in the sense that she was saying, you know, you've got to buy your first property ASAP. So I did buy my first property on my own, and that was back in 1999. So I rented it out for 6 months while I could afford to buy all the furniture and items I needed for it, and then moved in. So then by the time Mike was on the scene, we managed to sell that house, which was a 2-bed, and buy a 3-bed. It was when the house prices were, you know, going up so much. We managed to basically sell the 2-bed and buy the 3-bed for not much more. And what we've tried to do over the years as well is try and keep our old family home whilst we move to the next one. So that's how we've also built, we have sold some over the years, but that's how we've built our buy-to-let portfolio as well. So, you know, many years ago, it was a lot easier to do than it is now. But we were lucky enough to be in a position to do that. So that started the portfolio, didn't it?
The ball rolling. Yeah, it was. We're in a very fortunate position because we've almost sort of done it the other way around. The whole property education world came to us much later, once we'd obviously had the experience of being letting agents. But what it did allow us to do, we were in a position really where there was lots of opportunity thrust upon us. We knew when landlords were going to sell. We often were given first refusal. And there were some really great opportunities that came about from sort of being in that position. And it was quite exciting. We used to move every 3 years. We'd always lucky enough to keep the previous house. And then we were sort of, as a family, a little bit more open-minded to making that jump every time, because we always felt, well, if it doesn't work, we can just go back to the old property. But yeah, it was quite exciting, wasn't it? But it became very, very difficult towards the end. I mean, we owned that business, as Carey said, for 8 years. And when we sold to Belvoir, it was shortly after they floated on the stock market, and they released lots of cash for their franchisees to sort of, expand. And at that point, we had 15 members of staff, and we fully managed 600 properties. So, it was a very, very busy time, wasn't it? But it was a good time. And, I think we sort of exited at a really fortuitous time, really, didn't we?
Amazing. Well, gosh, you've covered off a lot of stuff there that I want to really pick up on. I love the fact that you talked about like moving every 3 years and taking advantage, because I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I haven't had the nicest house yet, but I've never been that attached to where I personally live. And so we've moved a fair amount. And it's saying, and I actually have always seen property as a kind of a means to an end, whether it's geographical, that you need to be somewhere, or and I remember people saying to me when I moved abroad, oh my gosh, that's just huge, what did you do? And I sort of said, well, I just booked a flight, packed a bag and went. It just seemed very simple to me. So I love that you really saw the opportunities in property. You were given those opportunities through your letting agent, and it was like, yeah, let's just do it. So did you kind of do them up along the way? Was it kind of like a plan, or was it kind of like more like, oh, we've got another opportunity that's a little bit bigger, we'll move to that one? And
it was more the opportunity. We haven't really done any with the second house we bought, needed a bit of cosmetic work. But that was like literally decorating and carpets. So that wasn't a great deal. And then we bought 2 brand new properties as well after that. So the aim is, we've chatted that, we do like the idea of doing up a property, but we think that's probably, because we had children young, we think that's a bit more of a towards retirement sort of age, or a retirement plan, or something just to keep us busy, when we do decide not to do the day-to-day work. So yeah, we've been fortunate enough just to move from one to the other, but like I said, keep the old house to rent out.
Be warned, I was chatting to a lady yesterday who was retired, quite an older lady. Oh my gosh, she was telling me what she does on a daily basis. We do not have time for property by the time. Get it all done now.
Yeah.
Don't have time. So guys, if anyone's got any questions for Mike and Carey as we go through, please do just pop them in the chat. But equally, if you could let us know where you are listening from, that would be great, because I'm on the East Sussex Kent border, and these guys are in Hereford, so it'd be good to see if we've got where we are around the country. Okay, so as you said, you had this big beast of a business. I mean, that was huge, and massive congratulations. I was only talking to a lady this morning about how challenging it is to run, a decent sized business. I mean, I take my hat off to you, running 15 members of staff. And then to me, when I look at a lettings agent's business, you've got all of those clients, as in the landlords, and then equally you've got all of their clients, which is the tenants. So the number of people that you were basically managing was enormous. Can you give kind of any learnings from that? Because I mean, I know a lot of small businesses that I talk to, they're quite frightened of taking on staff. And equally, that's why I'm always like, go and get a VA from the Philippines, you know. But yeah, just talk us through, you know, was that a planned growth? I know you bought the business, but was it a kind of a plan to grow it and then sell it? And you knew you needed to get to that time, or kind of how did it move forward for you?
It was never a plan. We wanted to, you know, make sure we ran a tight ship when it came to running the business, which we did, and the due diligence when we sold it showed that as well. But yeah, going back, we hadn't really ever set any goals, but I think I got to a point where I was edging 30. Was it?
Yeah, I was when we took over, I was 25 and Carey was 27. So we were very, very young. So
like 35. I think I was edging 40 then, and I thought, I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life. There was so much new legislation coming in. Luckily, we didn't realise, but about a year after we sold the business, they cut the tenant fees. So the income would have, you know, or the turnover would have dropped drastically to what we used to enjoy. So, yeah, it was never the plan. But I think I just woke up one day and thought it was when the times were getting hard as well with the credit crunch, and we had daily conflict from landlords arguing with tenants, and you know, us being in the middle and things. And I just said, I don't want to do this anymore. So we literally got the business valued, were quite shocked at what it was worth, and said, yeah, let's just sell it. So we had no plans on what we were going to do afterwards. It was July that we sold it, so we had the summer off with the kids. But yeah, other than that, we had no plans. It was a bit of a rash decision, wasn't it? Or
I think that's how we've sort of always rolled, really. So Carey is the type of person that, and we've known you long enough now, Emma, as well. I think you're sort of similar as well. Is if you've got a certain room arranged a certain way, it won't stay that long or that way for very long. You like to move things around, change it up, switch it up, and this is probably why we moved every 3 years. And it was the same really with the business. We sort of a bit of a decision made one day, and we sort of acted upon it. And we had 2 potential purchasers lined up in under a week. We went for a broker, and it was probably the best decision that we'd made, because at that, you know, we didn't have the experience really to know what to do to sell a business properly, and we were well guided, and it showed really in the you know, the potential purchasers that we had lined up. It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the right decision.
So I really love that, and it's so true. I mean, it's kind of like, it's almost the bane of an entrepreneur, isn't it? And you hear people talking about shiny penny and all of these things. But what I've seen with what your kind of journey is that you've been completely open to opportunity. And a lot of people would say, oh, well, Mike and Carey, they were just really lucky. But I just don't see that at all. Where you were at is you just had your kind of, blinkers off and just constantly open. And I'm sure there were some things it was like, no, that's not for us. But equally, it was kind of like, well, why don't we move? Why don't we grow the business? Why don't we now sell it? And I loved that you, Carey, especially, it's kind of like, I don't want this forever. And I do feel like, especially in service accommodation, people can build up these huge businesses. And it is just that, isn't it? It's a business, and they're really hard to run. And it's suddenly like, why did I do that? So it's always great to kind of question when you get to that stage in life, why am I doing that? And one of the things actually Rob Moore says a lot is that he likes his business to be part of his life. And I really liked that, because we were always told, weren't we, growing up, you've got to keep your work-life balance. And I was a bit like, but work is kind of like my life. I really like it. That is me. That's who I am. And when I heard him kind of basically say, you know, when I go on holiday, I love it. Like the kids go off for the morning, I do my work. I'm then satiated as far as, you know, enjoying myself. And then we all have family time in the afternoon and everyone's together. And I was like, that is my life. That is what I like. So again, you kind of seeing, well, this isn't, you know, it's been really fun up until now, but it's not now working for me. And then making that decision to move on. Yeah, I think it's absolutely great. But